How do you book Brock Lesnar if he loses at UFC 200? Doesn't a loss in the UFC hurt his drawing power? Why would it? Brock Lesnar ultimately lost in the UFC, and WWE signed him to huge contracts, came back, and made a huge splash. WWE is a different animal. It's entertainment. But Stephanie McMahon made comments that they're not supporting the fight necessarily regarding Brock Lesnar's UFC 200 fight. A lot questioned, why is WWE allowing this? Now, this would not happen if WWE wouldn't have said, okay. Plain and simple. It wouldn't have. If this is about keeping Brock Lesnar happy, I'm all for it. Brock Lesnar cares about one thing, and one thing only, and that is Brock Lesnar. Maybe he cares about other stuff, and maybe that's a little bit of a generalization. Some people have said that it's only about the money. Some people have said this is what Brock Lesnar wants to do. Well, Brock Lesnar on the conference call made some big statements. And in relation to SummerSlam, which we will get into about booking SummerSlam, is the match in the ring the best possible matchup? Would it happen if he wins or loses? We're going to get that later in the video. But before I do, the comments that Stephanie McMahon made about Brock, WWE necessarily shouldn't support the fight in a way. WWE does kind of view them as competition, which they really shouldn't. WWE is kind of a sport, entertainment, versus UFC is that competitive sport. That sport where you're going out there to try to stop a guy from doing you damage. You want to stop that guy. You either want to knock him out, submit him, or last long enough to be the winner. WWE, choreographed, scripted. You know who's going to win. Brock Lesnar's statements when asked about Stephanie McMahon said, I don't know. I don't care what she says. It was in that moment that I went, wow, Brock's a savage. But is Brock really a savage, or does he have more to say? How might a loss affect your drawing power? He was asked on the conference call. I really don't give a shit. Again, Brock's drawing power means nothing. He has a contract via WWE, which some have estimated about $5 million a year. That doesn't change based on Brock's drawing power. That's WWE's problem. That's not a Brock Lesnar problem. In recent times with WWE, the way they've treated talent, people should have that Brock Lesnar mindset. I'm going to be honest with you here. I am on Brock Lesnar's side. Now listen, I love the WWE. It's provided me entertainment my whole life. I understand that a lot of what's reported on the internet isn't necessarily true, and that the company isn't actively trying to keep guys down or trying to keep people away. But at the same time, the performers are independent contractors. They pay all their own bills. They're responsible for every single little thing. Now, WWE, if you go to rehab, hey, they might foot the bill. But are they going to cover anything else? Probably not. As an independent contractor, like myself included, I like Machinima. Machinima's great, but I'm not looking out for Machinima. I'm looking out for myself. And that's what Brock is doing here. Brock, sadly, was taken away from UFC because of an injury. You saw it on his last fight. I watched that fight with Alistar over him, and you could see that. Now, I tweeted that out. Once Stephanie McMahon made those statements and Brock Lesnar responded, they said, well, it's only about the money. That's all Brock cares about. Well, Brock made a statement about returning to the octagon for himself. This isn't about my fans. This is about me living my life, being the person that I want to be. Granted, without the fans and everything, none of us would be able to do this. I get that. But I don't sit up at night wondering, is my drawing power going to be hurt, or are my WWE fans going to tune in and watch me do this? I don't give two shits about that. This is about me. I want to get in there and be an athlete again. That's what this is about. And immediately, on Twitter, the Warriors, the keyboard warriors, bullshit. It's about the money. Can I tell you that I'm a big fat dude? I grew up playing 4 sports, baseball, softball. I pitched both of them. I pitched 4 days a week. I pretty much threw out my arm by the time I was 17 years old. I bowled in national tournaments. I was very active. I have that competitive spirit. I know what that's like. I'm a 4-time champion. Runner-up at a national tournament softball because the team bunted. I know what it feels like to have that athlete. You just want to get back in there and do it. Because of my size, I wasn't able to do it for the past couple years. But recently, I started playing slow pitch softball again. Now, I always played fast pitch, and slow pitch is kind of new to me, so I'm not going to say I'm great. And to be honest with you, I was doing all right, getting back into first base. And in my first game, just showing up, helping a buddy out to fill a team, I ended up pitching slow pitch, and I've never pitched slow pitch. That competitive spirit about getting back in there. Now, was I just doing that because I cared about the money or helping a friend? No, I had that competitive spirit, and I wanted to get back into it. Hell, I'm still trying to get back into it. Last year or 2 years ago, I played my first game of flag football. As a child, I loved football. I was always the quarterback growing up in elementary and middle school for the playground football. Until a kid came along named Derek and basically made me obsolete because he had a better arm than me. See, I don't think Brock Lesnar is going back for the money. And even if he is, good for Brock. Because WWE isn't looking out for Brock and UFC isn't looking out for Brock. It was the Damian Sandow podcast on Vince Russo's that really made it click. You guys have noticed my discussion videos. I've had a different mindset on things. In that podcast, Vince Russo said it's about your brand. Damian Sandow may not have done good in the WWE because of the WWE brass, or maybe they just didn't run with it, or maybe WWE thought they were doing the right thing and they weren't. But at the end of the day, that got Damian Sandow over. And that'll now get Damian Sandow bookings that without the WWE trying to hold him down or do everything that they did, he wouldn't have gotten those opportunities. Why? Because Damian Sandow, Aaron Stevens, maximized his time in the WWE. When he was in the ring, we had a reaction. When he was out there being Mizdow, we reacted. We helped get him over because we cared about the performer. We constantly say that the WWE does this, that, whatever. And I've made this statement many times before. I care more about the performers than I do the company because the company can cut anybody at any time and they're a business. That doesn't mean that I don't like the WWE or I don't care about the WWE, but for performers, one mistake, they could just cut them and they're high and dry. That leaves some of our favorite talents out in the wind. So Brock Lesnar choosing, if Brock Lesnar wants to go back to the UFC and the injury did take him away from it, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why we're even looking at it as it's all about the money. Does it really matter? Brock Lesnar's drawing power isn't affected in his contract. Brock already has that contract. Sure, he would probably make more from royalties if they came over from UFC and bought his WWE merchandise. And let's be honest, the UFC merchandise they have for Brock Lesnar is kind of ugly, considering how much bigger UFC is than WWE. UFC valued at about $4 billion being bought right now. WWE worth about $1 billion, $1.2 billion. So yes, UFC is bigger. If you're a WWE fan, you may not want to believe that, but it's true, money-wise. Brock went on to say, possibly doing another fight and how his training camp is going. I don't know. I feel really good. Training camp is going great. I'm happy. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with everything. Since I left the octagon and after I got beat by Overeem and kind of forced out of the cage because of my illness, it haunted me for a long time. Well, what do? Well, I'm here. And before it's too late, I want to get back in the cage and have fun with it. Wow. I don't want to make comparisons to myself, but that's kind of where I'm at. I've taken a step back the last couple of months and really wanted to go into the things I enjoy. Now, I know I have fans, and I wouldn't be where I was today if I didn't have those fans. But I had passions before I did this for a living and everybody knew me for wrestling. And now that I'm starting to do those passions, people think I'm selling out. Just like Brock is to go in the UFC for money. Now, that is not a fair comparison because Brock is actually known by people, and I'm just a fat guy on the internet. But Brock Lesnar going to the UFC, in my opinion, is good for Brock. If Brock goes over to the UFC and gets annihilated, it is what it is. He can come back to WWE, and sure, there may be some people that tune out. The WWE brass may go, damn it, Brock, why did you do that? Maybe it pays off. Maybe WWE, like the rumors have said, get Ronda Rousey at next year's pay-per-view. Maybe they get Conor McGregor. Maybe there's a working relationship for it. Who knows? But Brock Lesnar goes to UFC 200. Let's say he wins. What better opportunity it would be for WWE to kind of wink at the UFC and give Brock a loss. If Brock Lesnar wins at UFC 200, comes back to the WWE, it's scripted. He can blow it off. If Brock goes to the UFC and loses, WWE can go, well, it's a real sport. we're scripted, that's fine. UFC goes, shit, Brock Lesnar lost. Now, it'd probably garner huge pay-per-view buy ratings for Brock Lesnar coming back, but for the WWE, they're not really affected by it. But if Brock Lesnar were to pick up the victory and beat Mark Hunt, coming back to the WWE at SummerSlam, putting him up against a mega heel, maybe a guy like Kevin Owens, and having Kevin Owens go over and beat him would be huge. We don't have a super top mega heel right now in the WWE. Maybe AJ when the club takes off, maybe Finn, maybe somebody down the line. But right now we don't have that mega heel. What better way to put somebody on the map and give a wink and a nod to UFC at the same time than to have Brock Lesnar's opponent at SummerSlam beat him? You go out there and maybe Paul Heyman gets involved. Maybe something happens with the relationship. Maybe whatever. It doesn't matter how they do it. But WWE could be an opportunity to really put over one of their superstars and, still realize they helped out the UFC and are probably going to get a favor back. And they probably got some money for it. If he loses, well, he comes to SummerSlam and has a dominant victory. Dominates the hell out of somebody. Or maybe he loses too, and they brush it off as his mindset was off because of that. But then the next night on Monday Night Raw, he comes out and just absolutely destroys somebody and goes away for a couple months till the next pay-per-view. We were all under the assumption that Brock had a 3-year contract last year and should be around for a while. Brock Lesnar is a special attraction. Suplex City is a special attraction. I never thought I'd love to see a match where it's just 15 suplexes, 10 suplexes, 12 suplexes. But it is. Paul Heyman makes it feel special. Brock Lesnar makes it feel special. And ultimately, his drawing power, I don't think will be hurt winning or losing. Because at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar doesn't have to worry about drawing. That's the WWE and the UFC's job. To spin it, to make it into a story, or to do something with it. The only job Brock Lesnar has to do is get that paycheck and be worth that paycheck. That's it. That's the only thing we should be concerned about. If Brock went back to be an athlete, that's on him. If Brock went back to be the money, to get that paper, that's on him. Our job is to either watch him get his ass kicked or come into the ring and take somebody's ass to Suplex City and destroy them. Either way, somebody possibly beating Brock Lesnar after returning to the UFC from a 6 or 7 year absence and having him win at SummerSlam, you just might have the next big guy in the company. And I'll be honest, I hope it's Kevin Owens. Until next time, it's your boy Tubby.